Think about your long-term relationship for a second. Or, if you aren't in one right now, just picture a past one. I want you to really put yourself back in that space.
Right, the comfortable space.
Exactly. You've successfully navigated all those early, terrifying hurdles. You survived the nerve-wracking social test where you meet the friends.
Yeah, you made it through the awkward first fights without anyone, walking out the door.
You have finally arrived. You are comfortably settled into what we might affectionately call the sweatpants and pizza phase.
Which feels incredibly safe.
It really does.
Yeah.
But if you have ever been there, you know the trap. Have you ever noticed how, completely by accident, that deeply romantic partnership quietly, like almost invisibly, slips into the dreaded roommate phase?
Oh, it happens entirely in the shadows. You never wake up and consciously decide to stop flirting with your partner.
Right, the late-night hushed conversations about your dreams they vanish. And suddenly, the most common sentence spoken in your home is, hey, did you remember to take out the trash?
Because the transition from passionate lovers to essentially administrators of a shared household, it's so gradual. You rarely notice it until you are completely buried under the logistics of your own life.
Yeah.
You look across the couch one evening and realize you haven't really looked at each other in months.
And that is exactly why today's deep dive is going to be so fascinating. We are looking at a source today that tackles this exact phenomenon, but from a remarkably unexpected angle.
A very unexpected angle.
Right. The material we have on the table is an excerpt from an English language learning curriculum. It's a document titled The Midnight English Guide, Episode 13, The Complacency Trap.
And ostensibly, this was written for intermediate English learners, people in the B1 to B2 range, just to practice very specific vocabulary.
When you actually read the text, the grammar lessons are essentially a Trojan horse.
Oh, completely. The authors have disguised a highly sophisticated psychological manual as a language guide.
It really is. It's a master class in a concept they refer to as the Re-Seduction. The guide argues that learning a language isn't just about, making yourself understood.
No, it is about learning how to manipulate the emotional reality of the person you're speaking to.
And that is the mission of our deep dive today. We are going to explore how actively altering our daily vocabulary, specifically by utilizing what the curriculum calls linguistic chunks, can completely rewire the dynamic of a stagnant relationship.
We will examine how the deliberate choice of a single phrase can forcefully pull you out of roommate mode and, throw you right back into the tension of early dating.
Which I am so here for. But to understand the cure, we first have to understand the disease.
Exactly. And the guide establishes a very bold central thesis right in the opening paragraphs. It states, very plainly, comfort is the enemy of attraction.
Which is a massive paradox. Comfort is the stated goal of almost every human endeavor.
Right, we want the comfortable house, the comfortable shoes.
The comfortable dynamic with our partner.
Right.
But think about it like putting a complex video game on easy mode.
That's a great way to look at it.
Right. Like the first time you toggle that switch, it feels phenomenal. You are invincible. You are breezing through the levels without breaking a sweat. It feels incredibly safe.
But if you play on easy mode for 30 hours...
Exactly. The utter lack of friction, the complete absence of a challenge, it means your dopamine levels just flatline.
The excitement inevitably drops off a cliff, and you just get bored.
Yeah. And that lack of friction has a very tangible physical symptom in a romantic relationship.
The guide introduces a concept called the shrinking vocabulary, and I have to say it is one of the most accurate observations of human behavior I have seen in a long time.
The shrinking vocabulary. I was struck by how universally true that is.
It happens to everyone. When couples settle deep into that easy mode, the actual number of words they use with each other plummets.
Think back to the first 3 months of dating someone. The texts are paragraphs long. The phone calls last for hours. You are analyzing every word, playing with subtext, teasing each other.
You are using the full spectrum of language.
Right. And then the comfort sets in. That playful, vibrant back and forth just vanishes.
And nature abhors a vacuum.
Yeah.
So what fills that silent space?
Pure, unfiltered logistics.
Exactly. What is for dinner? What time is your meeting? We need milk.
Did you feed the cat?
Right. You slowly strip away all the nuance, the flirtation, the playful antagonism, until you are left with the absolute bare minimum of syllables required to operate a shared life.
It's entirely transactional communication. You literally go from being poets to being accountants.
That's exactly it. So if the root of the problem is this routine of lazy, highly functional language, how do we snap out of it?
Well, the text suggests that you cannot just slowly drift back into romance. You need a shock to the system.
A disruption. The authors call this the pattern interrupt.
And a pattern interrupt is crucial because the brain runs on predictive loops, doesn't it?
It does. When you are in the roommate phase, your partner knows exactly what you are going to say before you even open your mouth. They expect the logistical check-in.
Right.
And the guide points out the critical mistake couples make when they finally realize they are stuck in a rut and try to plan a date night. They use weak, passive language. They ask permission.
Like saying, do you want to do something this weekend?
Which is the death knell of romance.
It really is. Because do you want to do something immediately shifts the burden of planning onto the other person.
It usually leads to both people staring blankly saying, I don't know, what do you want to do? Until you give up and just order the same pizza you always order.
So true. But the guide offers a radical alternative to that passivity. They call it the spontaneous command.
The instruction is to take complete, unapologetic leadership. You do not ask for permission. You dictate the reality of the situation.
Okay, let's talk about the very first linguistic chunk they introduce for this phase, because it's just two simple words. Cancel your plans.
Cancel your plans.
Now, I have to challenge the authors on this one. Let's look at the context they provide. They suggest dropping this phrase on a random Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
If someone walks up to me on a Tuesday while I am in the middle of my routine and just demands, cancel your plans, that borders on aggressive.
It feels aggressive.
Yeah. In the real world, outside of the textbook, my immediate reaction is going to be defensive. I'm going to say, excuse me, who do you think you're talking to?
And that is a completely natural hesitation to have. But
Yeah.
let's look at the psychology of the person receiving that command.
Okay, I'm listening.
The reason this specific chunk works so effectively is entirely because it is authoritative. We were just talking about the exhaustion of the roommate phase, the endless logistics.
The accountant phase.
Exactly. Decision fatigue is a very real, heavy burden in modern life. We spend all day making choices at work, making choices for the house.
So by issuing a command, you're actually removing a burden.
You are giving them a vacation from thinking.
Oh, wow.
It is a massive shift in energetic polarity. You move from a passive questioning state to a highly active commanding one.
I guess that makes sense.
When you tell someone, cancel your plans, the immediate unspoken subtext is that you have a surprise waiting for them that is vastly superior to whatever mundane tasks they had lined up.
Oh, I like that.
You are not being a tyrant. You are offering an escape hatch from their own boring routine.
Okay, that reframes it completely. It is not about dominance, it's about decisiveness.
Decisiveness implies that you have a plan, and confidence is inherently magnetic.
It really is. Now, the guide provides a secondary chunk for this exact scenario, designed for when you are already physically trapped in the rut.
The couch scenario.
Yes. Let's say it is a Friday night. You are both on the couch, wearing the sweatpants, mindlessly scrolling on your phones. The suggested phrase is, get dressed, I'm taking you out.
Notice the rhythm of that phrase. Get dressed, I'm taking you out. There is a hard stop in the middle. There is absolutely no room left for negotiation.
No room at all.
It forces physical action. It drags both of you out of the quicksand of complacency by sheer force of will.
But the delivery would be everything, wouldn't it? I mean, if you say it frantically, it sounds like an emergency.
Or a chore.
Exactly.
Right.
But if you slow down your cadence, drop your voice just a fraction, and say it with steady eye contact, it works. It shatters the script of the evening.
So the pattern is interrupted. You have used the spontaneous command, and you successfully got your partner off the couch.
You are out of the house.
But changing your zip code does not magically change your relationship dynamic.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
We have all walked past a nice, dimly lit restaurant and seen a couple sitting across from each other, completely silent, just staring at their phones.
The location changed, but the mental framework remained completely static.
The roommate vibe just hitched a ride with them in the Uber.
Exactly. And this is where the curriculum introduces the stranger frame to combat that exact scenario.
The text calls it the role play. The advice here is that once you are out in public, you must consciously choose to treat your long-term partner as if they were a highly attractive stranger you just spotted across the room.
You have to force your brain to look at them with fresh eyes.
And the linguistic chunk they prescribe for this moment, I have to admit, I laughed out loud when I read it.
It's a classic.
The phrase they want you to use is, do you come here often?
It is the most recognizable, quintessential pickup line in the English language.
It is also notoriously awful. It is a massive cliche. Why would an educational guide, one that just spent pages breaking down the deep psychology of tension, recommend a genuinely terrible pickup line?
Because the sheer cheesiness of the line is the mechanism that makes the psychological shift possible.
Wait, really? The cheesiness is the point.
Absolutely. Think about the vulnerability required to be genuinely, earnestly romantic with someone you have been treating like a roommate for 6 months.
Oh, that would be rough.
If you try to gaze deeply into their eyes and recite poetry out of nowhere, it feels incredibly jarring. It is uncomfortable.
It might even cause anxiety, because it highlights how far apart you have actually drifted.
Exactly. But using a cliche like, "Do you come here often?" delivered while you slide into the booth next to them, looking them up and down, it provides a safe mask.
I'm a mask.
It forces both of you to participate in a game. It is a socially agreed upon script that signals, we are playing right now.
Oh, so you are mutually pretending to hit on each other.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. The absurdity of the cliche acts as a shield.
A very effective shield.
Behind the safety of that role play, you can actually allow yourself to look at them the way you did on your very first date. It removes the pressure.
I imagine it almost always results in a laugh, or an eye roll, but, a fond one.
And that laughter breaks the stagnant energy in the air.
It artificially manufactures sexual tension in an environment that had gone completely cold.
I love that. Now, there is another chunk in this section of the guide that achieves a similar result, but through playful antagonism.
The coffee cup scenario.
Yes. Let's say your partner does something incredibly mundane. They hand you a cup of coffee in the kitchen. The guide suggests taking the mug, looking at them with a slight smirk, and asking, "Are you flirting with me?"
It's brilliant.
I love the mechanics of that phrase. Are you flirting with me? It is an aggressive misinterpretation of reality.
You are taking a neutral, functional, action-making coffee and purposely reframing it as an act of seduction.
It is so cheeky.
It forces them onto their back foot, but in a highly enjoyable way.
Right. They have to actively defend themselves against the accusation of being attracted to you.
They might say, "I just handed you coffee, don't flatter yourself." But even in that denial, they have been forced to step out of the roommate mindset and engage with you on a flirtatious frequency.
The underlying theme of this entire curriculum is becoming very clear. The guide is aggressively pushing the idea that long-term attraction does not just magically sustain itself on autopilot.
No. It requires conscious, deliberate architecture. You have to actively build the tension block by block.
And that leads directly into the final section of the text, which is arguably the most powerful.
Because you do not actually have to wait until you are face-to-face on a date to start this engineering process.
Not at all. You can manipulate the emotional tension from miles away.
The midday ping.
Okay, if you are listening to this at work right now, I want you to open your phone and look at the last text you sent your partner. What does it say?
The guide calls out the cardinal sin of long-term texting, which is using the phone purely as a logistical tool.
Can you pick up the dry cleaning? Did you pay the Wi-Fi bill? Don't forget we have dinner with my parents. It's exhausting just reading it.
Every time you send one of those logistical texts, you are reinforcing the business partnership aspect of your relationship and burying the romantic one.
So the curriculum introduces the tension ping as a radical countermeasure.
The goal is to send a message that is delightfully, almost shockingly out of context for a normal workday.
And the primary chunk they teach for this is, you are dangerously distracting today.
You are dangerously distracting today.
The usage notes specifically instruct the reader to send this message when you are both working from home, maybe in completely different rooms, or right after one of you has left for the office.
Consider the physical and chemical impact of receiving that text. It is 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Your partner is staring at a spreadsheet, deep in their logistical brain, probably feeling bored and slightly invisible.
Yeah.
Suddenly their screen lights up with, "You are dangerously distracting today." It triggers an immediate dopamine spike.
It is a massive, unexpected compliment.
It is.
To use a different analogy, it is like a movie studio dropping a 2-minute action-packed trailer in the middle of a quiet afternoon for a blockbuster film that premieres that very evening.
Exactly. It tells your partner, "Hey, even though I'm supposed to be sitting here answering emails, my brain is entirely occupied by the physical memory of you."
It plants a seed of anticipation.
And anticipation is the engine of desire. You are giving them something to mentally chew on for the next 5 hours.
And that mental momentum eventually becomes a physical reality.
The guide highlights one final phrase in this chapter, and it is a masterstroke of psychological manipulation.
It really is. And this one is designed to be used in a crowded, public setting. Let's set the scene the guide provides. You are at a busy dinner party with a group of friends.
A very normal, mundane setting.
Right. The instruction is to wait until the conversation is loud and chaotic, catch your partner's eye across the table, lean in close so only they can hear you, and say, "Stop looking at me like that."
The contrast between the public environment and the intensely private statement is what gives that phrase its power. By the way, the guide notes this is a callback to a previous lesson, episode 4.
Right, the callback. But what I find so fascinating about this is the reality of the situation versus the reality you are creating. Your partner probably wasn't looking at you like that at all. They were probably just chewing a piece of bread and listening to a story about someone's golf game.
But by making the accusation, you instantly carve out an exclusive, invisible boundary around the two of you, right in the middle of a crowded room.
The secret bubble.
The secret bubble. You have effectively isolated them from the group without either of you ever leaving your chairs.
It implies that there's a private desire, a secret conversation happening beneath the surface of this incredibly normal, boring dinner party.
It makes you feel like you're getting away with a crime.
Yes. The anticipation for when the party finally ends, you get to close the front door and actually be alone, the tension would be off the charts.
It is a masterful use of syntax. You are utilizing a sequence of 6 simple words to completely alter the emotional reality of the room.
So as we look at the entire scope of the Midnight English Guide, the overarching lesson transcends grammar or vocabulary.
The complacency trap is not a myth. It is a gravitational pull that affects absolutely every long-term dynamic.
The roommate phase is the natural resting state of a relationship that is left on easy mode.
But it is not a life sentence.
You do not have to just sit back and watch the spark fade into administration.
Exactly. Long-term connection is a built environment. By consciously choosing to abandon that lazy functional language and deliberately injecting these moments of playful antagonism, spontaneous leadership, or out-of-context tension into your daily routine,
You are actively refusing to let your vocabulary shrink.
you are choosing to keep the dynamic alive.
You are making a conscious decision to keep playing the game, even when you have already memorized all the rules.
It completely changes how you evaluate the words coming out of your mouth on a Tuesday morning.
It requires a deliberate expenditure of energy, yes, but the return on that investment is a partnership that remains vibrant, rather than one that merely survives the decades.
It is the difference between thriving and existing.
Which brings us to a final thought I want to leave you with today. We have spent this entire deep dive analyzing romantic relationships, exploring how actively shifting our vocabulary from functional to playful can rescue us from the complacency trap with a partner.
Right.
But the psychology of the shrinking vocabulary does not stop at the edge of romance.
Oh, the mechanics of human connection are universal.
Think about your oldest friends. Think about your siblings or your parents. How many of those profound, deeply connected relationships have quietly slipped into their own version of the roommate phase?
That is a very good question.
Have those conversations gradually shrunk down to nothing but logistical check-ins? How is work? Did you see Mom? Are we still on for Thursday?
If a simple change in syntax, a deliberate pattern interrupt, can breeze life back into a romantic partnership, what would happen if we started engineering a little more playful, deliberate engagement into those dynamics too?
Are we treating our best friends like administrators?
We are likely leaving an immense amount of joy and connection on the table simply because we have allowed all of our relationships to default to easy mode.
So maybe it is time to turn off easy mode across the board.
I think so.
The next time you find yourself wearing the sweatpants, staring at your phone, about to ask your partner if the trash has been taken out,
Pause. Take a slow breath.
look at them and maybe, just maybe, tell them to cancel their plans.